And people still say to their kids, save money. You've got to be crazy.
The old saying is don't fight the Fed. And there is some truth to that.
I could put $1 million in 74 into a savings alone, a bank. I don't consider Bitcoin, gold, and silver investments. I consider them insurance policies. Going to keep printing more and more money, which they will when the...
I hate to say this, but gold, silver, and Bitcoin are investments of disaster. There's no correlation right now between the price of a stock and the underlying fundamentals. And the reason I said gold, silver, and Bitcoin will crash when the vaccine will come out, I tweeted it's a good thing.
Bitcoin boom beating gold and silver. What does that mean? It means you better buy as much as you can now. The train is moving, the dollar is dying, silver is still affordable for everyone. And as the dollar crashes, what counts is not price, but how many coins of gold, silver, or Bitcoin do you own? Since 1974, the US dollar has lost 90% of its value, and people still say to their kids, save money. You've got to be crazy.
Yeah, I think the problem isn't the pandemic. The problem is our economic system. And as most of you guys know, on September 17th, 2019, there was a crash in the repo market of the shadow banking system. And then voila, COVID appears in December of 2019. So I was always a little suspicious of it. I'm not saying it's not real, but it was a little too convenient. So something's fishy, and that's kind of my suspicious mindset.
So when I started looking into Bitcoin, it was already starting to come up, so I started buying it around 9,000. And today I think it's around 15 or 16,000. I don't know what it is. I don't count that. I just count the number of coins I have. That's it.
I hate to say this, but gold, silver, and Bitcoin are investments of disaster. And the reason is I understood what happened when Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. And so, as you know, most of the pessimist gold guys like me just know you just can't keep printing money. And so this COVID thing is a little suspicious. You know, that old saying is don't fight the Fed. And there is some truth to that. If you had followed that advice in 71, you did okay because the Fed always bailed you out. But that's what I was talking about, September 17th, 2019, that fire in the repo market. You know, they couldn't, and the Fed jumped in and the Treasury jumped in to save the repo market. That's socialism. That's communism. That's central controlled government. So now the economy is controlled by the Fed and the US Treasury. Free market is gone.
But the average person has been conditioned to think about paper, fake money, you know, fake dollars. At the same time, they're printing as much money as they possibly can. They give it to their rich friends. They don't give it to us. And then they print it and interest rates keep going down. So in 1974, when I got out of the Marine Corps, if I had $1 million, which I didn't, I could put $1 million in 74 into a savings alone, a bank, in a certificate of deposit, and they would pay me 15% on my $1 million. So a lot of people made a lot of money. They just put their money into the bank, and they're being paid 15% interest. So $1 million back in 74 was worth approximately $150,000. Now it's not a lot of money to retire on, but you could have retired on $150,000 in 1974. Today, I take $1 million into the bank, I might get 2%.
You know, if everything was perfect, you don't need gold, silver, and Bitcoin. So I've been collecting silver since I was in 1964, when I found out that silver tinge upon my little dimes and nickels, and then dimes and quarters. And I started buying gold in 1972. So this whole thing has been one, as the Marines would say, a gaggle F. You know, it's just really a mess. Buffett is saying the banks aren't going to make it. Because, you know, what happens every single time is when the Fed and the Treasury take over, they don't need commercial banks. They want to go straight from the treasury to the people, which is PPP, Universal Basic Income, UBI, and MMT. So the Fed is now becoming the banker for the people also. That's essentially controlled economy. So that's why I tweeted, I said, when the vaccine appears and happy days are here again, the real problem has always been the economy. It's been the central bank, the repo market, Wall Street, and US Treasuries. When you look at zero interest rate policy, which we're going to, that's saying we don't want your cash, we don't want your savings. They're forcing mom and pop into the equities market or the bond market or the real estate market. And if you're going to survive into the future, if you're just going to buy, hold, and pray and you're toast, because there's no correlation right now between the price of a stock and the underlying fundamentals. And the reason I said gold, silver, and Bitcoin will crash when the vaccine will come out, I tweeted it's a good thing because it's a buying opportunity, because the problem wasn't the pandemic anyway. The pandemic has always been the underlying repo market, shadow banking system, the Fed, the Treasury, and all those characters. So information is the key for the future. And that's why you've got to be up to date on it every minute, because zero interest rates are saying we don't want your money. That's what it means.
I just saved gold and silver.
You don't need Bitcoin.
I don't consider Bitcoin, gold, and silver investments. I consider them insurance policies against the idiots running the Fed, the Treasury, and Wall Street. And they're a bunch of criminals as far as I'm concerned, because they're printing trillions of dollars at the same time causing billions of people to go unemployed. Are you nuts? Are you nuts? I mean, I can't, this is like heaven. But I know for people sitting at home, they're going, oh, I've lost my job, I can't pay my mortgage. And I understand, you can't pay the car payments and all this. Prices of gold, silver, and Bitcoin will crash too. The reason is when markets crash, whether it's stocks, real estate, we call it bonds, people need cash. And so when the markets crash, they have to go to cash, and they'll sell whatever is most liquid. That's the key word. So what gold, silver, and Bitcoin are is liquid, so they'll sell that off too. Now, that's bad news if you're holding it long, but it's good news if you're buying more of it. So every crash, it will come down. And if you're long, if you actually are confident that the government's going to keep screwing up, the government's going to keep printing more and more money, which they will when the pensions go broke.
We didn't actually expect, from a valuation model, how do you value Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies? We didn't expect the pandemic to create, even a third stimulus coming, right? So what's happening is there's so much money being printed that there's a lot of excess money as well. And that excess money does go back to the stock market. It does go back to other investments here. So what we're seeing now is like with low interest rates, you see like the stock market at all-time highs. You see cryptocurrencies at all-time highs. You see real estate like the fastest buying growth in 6 years, right? So what's happening with crypto is like there's nowhere else to invest money right now. But within subsets of crypto, there are ecosystems that are still, I wouldn't say undervalued. I'd say like superheated, but there's still yield coming from these ecosystems that are being built on cryptocurrencies right now. And that's what like kind of our research and our kind of predictions are heading towards in the cryptocurrency area.
But the question is, where do you put your money? I started off years ago saying cash is trash, and it is becoming trash. The more that artificial intelligence and technology makes things more efficient, prices should keep coming down, but the Fed keeps pumping it up. And so we have the guys in the middle, the people that, lesson number one in Rich Dad Poor Dad is rich don't work for money. The moment you do that, you're screwed. So it's coming true right now. It really deeply concerns me, especially now that I'm going, oh my God, what I was saying 25 years ago is coming true today. And so that's why people have got to understand what goes on in your head, because that's the future now. The future of money lies in my opinion, crypto or Bitcoin and blockchain. Let's start with Bitcoin. Just a quick summary to like first-time listeners, Bitcoin is a decentralized ledger. You can think of like an Excel sheet that nobody actually owns.
but everybody that has like a cell, you can control the money coming out only, and you can receive money. What's also interesting about Bitcoin is it's like very, not fixed supply, very, very deflationary though. As more Bitcoins are minted, it gets less and less inflation. And I think it stops around 21 million Bitcoin. And it's not pegged against anything, right? Bitcoin is itself. It's not pegged to any world currency. And as a result, if you have like US dollar getting printed as like crazy, Bitcoin actually is inversely correlated. So basically, as the dollar value goes down, Bitcoin actually goes up. And what we're seeing right now is like hundreds of billions of dollars being acquired by financial institutions. Grayscale being a very prominent one. They own $20 billion of Bitcoin right now. A lot of other funds are buying in the $100 million increments. But what's happening is there's like not much supply left of Bitcoin actually. And it's causing like an overcorrection of the kind of hedge against the dollar thesis. I think everyone agrees that it is a hedge against the dollar, but at some point it might be overcorrecting it. And then as the vaccines roll out and the dollar gets stronger, that thesis is going to get turned around, right? So that's at least my view on Bitcoin. What's going on with Ethereum though? Because I think this is pretty crazy. So just another summary for everyone else. Ethereum took that decentralized ledger idea. They added a programmable logic on top of that so people can actually develop code on blockchain. So what you have is like decentralized code as well as, you know, currency, and people use the first use case is always currency because that's like the most, you can like take financial applications and put value on it and then transfer it over the chain. But Ethereum in 2018 came up with the ICO concept. You can mint new tokens on top of Ethereum. And that became a huge fundraising vehicle in 2018, which ultimately resulted in a big bubble pop because there was not much utility. There was actually not much adoption coming from that. 2020, though, has changed everything. By the way, just to give a reference, Ethereum is up 700% since last year, and Bitcoin is up 300% since last year. So that's just kind of reference of what's going on with the kind of divergence of Bitcoin and Ethereum. But by the way, Bitcoin and Ethereum always very tightly coupled.
People say, what are you doing? I said, well, just buy it all. You know, I have gold, silver, Bitcoin, Ethereum. You know, I mean, like I said, I'm just betting against my government. That's all I'm doing, the stupidity of them. You know?
So if you want to bet against the government, it's Bitcoin. If you want to invest in the technology, it is Ethereum. But there's a lot of projects within Ethereum that I think are very, very promising as well.
So Ethereum has some use to it.
I hate to say this, but gold, silver, and Bitcoin are investments of disaster.